Good morning and welcome to Making Peace with Money with your host, Laurie Lamantia, Professor, CPO, and Prosperity Coach. Get ready to master your life and your money, not the other way around. Now, here is your host, Laurie Lamantia.
Good morning and welcome to our show today, where I'm going to be talking about being an effective co-creator and collaborator. I think what we're seeing in the world around us right now is the opportunity to collaborate and co-create much more effectively, to be an impact both at home and at work with our life partners or with our friends. All the energies are coming together to support powerful co-creation, creating with another person, creating with another group. And you've probably heard that quote, when two or more are gathered. What you're seeing is the power of 1 + 1 equaling way more than 2. Because when we combine our energies with another person, when we combine our intent with other people in a mindful, intentional way, we can really create tremendous change, possibility, prosperity. Anything that you can imagine, you can create, and it's all the more expanded when you intend to co-create and collaborate. So I thought, why not talk today about how to do that more effectively? And one of the things that I want you to think about as you're listening today is to realize that you can be an effective co-creator and collaborator, even though the other people haven't heard the show or haven't given much thought to being a collaborator and a co-creator. Because once you understand some of the principles, you can be implementing them consciously and mindfully and actually facilitate the conversation to be more effective and co-creative. A lot of this material is coming from the book that I co-authored with Lisa Gundry. We called it Breakthrough Teams for Breakneck Times, and you can get it on Amazon. But the point of the book was to help lay out 10 principles for unlocking the genius of creative collaboration. It's the opportunity to understand that these foundational building blocks that we can cultivate in ourselves and in our teams can make us all the more effective and impactful when we're executing a task or aligning towards a vision. So what I thought I would do is walk through the principles for you from your perspective. Because like I said, if you can just learn and embrace and start to cultivate these principles in yourself, you will become a much more powerful team partner player. And one of the things the first principle that I think is really important for us to acknowledge and understand is that collaboration and co-creation is a choice. And what I'm saying about that is a lot of us get thrown into teams and we don't realize it feels like we have to do it. It feels like, oh, here I go, get assigned to a team. At school, my students, they're like, oh, crap, we got to work together as a team. People don't really like working with other people, and I really believe it's because we've never been taught how to. We haven't been taught the basic building blocks. And the basic building blocks are not all that formulaic. They're actually they're very personal. They're personal decisions we make. And the first decision we need to make is that we do want to participate and co-create with the other person. And making this choice consciously and actually engaging the other person and saying, wow, we're in the middle of this creation. We're in the middle of this task that we've been put to. Let's make an intention to co-create and collaborate effectively. Even that lays the groundwork and opens the door into a whole different experience than, well, I know what I want to do and you know what you want to do and good luck, we'll kind of try and duke it out in between and hopefully we get somewhere that's effective. That's kind of a haphazard I'll call it traditional way to collaborate. And what I'm asking you, again, is to very consciously choose to collaborate, because it's not necessarily a conscious choice for many of us. So that's really the first principle that I wanted to share with you and ask you to think about in your experiences that you're going through right now. Is there a possible conversation that you can have where you can take two or three or five people that you're working with and actually mold them into one by having an intention to strongly co-create through choice? The second principle that I wanted to talk about is to be mindful of setting the stage to co-create. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago and last week about when you're setting your prosperity intentions. It's so important to not only mindfully choose what your topic is, but also put yourself, and if you can, encourage the people around you to get into a co-creative, high-vibrating consciousness, meaning be excited about the work that you're going to do together. When I sit down with my husband to have a detailed conversation about our finances or about our work, we always try and do it in the morning when we're fresh and we just woke up, we're not exhausted from the day. It kind of makes perfect sense, but a lot of times people try and attack big topics when they're tired or exhausted. This is an opportunity to mindfully choose, hey, I really want this thing that we're doing together to work out successfully. Let's create the groundwork to lay success so it's more likely to happen. And co-creating and collaborating when people are fresh and refreshed and feeling joyous and playful is the right time to co-create. And when people are exhausted, angry, frustrated, feeling bad about what's going on in the company or in the household, that's not the time, because what you're going to get is all the gunk that they're feeling is going to flow into the collaboration, and it's not going to be as high and empowered and powerful as it could be. So the second principle that we need to keep in mind when we're co-creating is to prepare ourselves and prepare the environment and interact when we feel that we're most creative and most available and open. So what I'm trying to do again is give you some ideas and thoughts for, if I'm going to have to work with somebody else, how can I make it the most powerful and effective? And again, setting the stage really can take you so much farther. The next thing that teams don't really do, again, or they talk about it, but they don't really do effectively, is come together for a meaningful reason. And to me, this was when I was writing the book, the principle of coming together for a meaningful reason, something that means something to me, was so important that the thread of it as I was writing the book just kept coming through as to, wow, this is so important. And I can't tell you how many teams I was thrown onto that I really didn't care about what the team was doing. I was kind of, this is what I should do because I work at this company, or, wow, this is something that's important to my boss, but I don't really understand why we're wasting our time on it. That finding the meaningful reason for you and the thing that you're passionate about within the aspect of the co-creation is so important. So as we undertake an experience, finding what is passionate to us is really first and foremost in any co-creative experience. And also having a vision that, where do I want to head? What would I love for the outcome to be? So there's this passionate reason, and also the importance of understanding where I want to head. The key here is that what's important and meaningful for you might not be important and meaningful for the other people on your team. And so in a lot of ways, this is one of those opportunities where the wisdom of the group is going to come forward, and everybody has something they might find important and meaningful, but they might approach it from their own perspective. And I'm thinking about a team that I'm working with now, that everybody is really supportive of the company being very profitable and prosperous. And that's the vision, that everybody really wants to have fun and be prosperous in the whole way that a company and a team can be. And everybody's coming at it from their unique way of doing business. One of the team members is a very caring, giving person, and she wants to make sure that all the customers are well taken care of. So the thing that's really meaningful for her within the vision is that she's taking care of the customers, and she's a caretaker. So for her passion is to caretake. Well, that is... Now, everybody doesn't have to agree necessarily with that and her approach. Just appreciating that she's bringing that piece to the table in her unique way is where the power of the collective comes in. Another team member is really into getting all the T's and I's crossed. She's very taskful, and she really likes things organized. So for her, the meaningful piece is to participate in a way that gets things organized. So what I want you to see is the opportunity for you is to get clear about what's important to you and what you have passion for, and then be open and allow what's important to others and what they're passionate about. Listen to them, understand them, and have an open enough space for their passion to come through together. I hope this is making sense, because part of the opportunity, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, is that when we come together to co-create, there's an aspect of uncertainty that comes. And so if you're a control freak and you want things all done your way, co-creating and collaborating is going to be really a hard thing for you, because there's so much uncertainty that comes when people get together. There's so much power that comes, but the uncertainty and the unexpected possibilities that flow when the energies combine is very different. And that's one of the things I'm going to leave you with before we go to the break, is that the competitive advantage for any company, or the power that any team has that is so unique, is the combination of the energies, personalities, and individuals that are coming together. That pretty much is what I think is the only competitive advantage that's really left that is reverse engineerable, unduplicatable. Because once you get these particular 3 people in a room or 5 people in a room, that unique energy is unreplicatable. It cannot be recreated by any competitor or anybody else in the industry. So learning how to take advantage of that unique combination of energy is the opportunity that you have, and the opportunity to appreciate it is in your court. And if you're a team leader, it's your opportunity to make the most of it. This is the most unique competitive advantage that you're right in the middle of. How cool is that right now? How prosperous is that you are in the middle of a giant, unexpected co-creation that no one else has at their access. Of course, they have their own unique combination, but now, how do you make the most of yours? So these first 3 principles are, again, opportunity for you to mindfully choose to interact and co-create with one other person or 6 other people. It doesn't matter. And as you build the skills and you intend to be an effective collaborator, you will have an impact, and you will have the opportunity to share your wisdom with your teammates, with your partner, with your husband or wife, and shift from a haphazard outcome to a more focused, powerful outcome, because you're starting to integrate these principles. So when you come back, I have a couple more that I'd like to share with you, and keep us moving in the direction of empowered co-creating. Stick with us. Hi, and welcome back. And we're talking about how to be an effective co-creator and collaborator. And one of the things I wanted to mention was the reason how I ended up writing the book, Breakthrough Teams for Breakneck Times, was that when I was at Bell Laboratories, AT&T Bell Laboratories, we started this innovation center within Bell Labs, and one of the things that people kept constantly needing was team help, team support. You had all these incredibly imaginative, creative geniuses, but working together and making the most of their brain power together really often left people confused. So one of the major things that we spent so much time doing was teaching people how to become creative collaborators. And this book was an outpouring of all the things that I had learned while we were facilitating all these different teams at Bell Laboratories. And it just became so obvious what a need it was to have some principles and some understanding, and of course some discipline in choosing to collaborate. So that's where I'm coming from here. This is learnings that I culled out of working with hundreds of teams, very high-powered teams that really were really, really brilliant, but not necessarily effective together. And so that's what, in this time, in 2010, there's so much more opportunity to collaborate effectively. The old structures of hierarchy and command and control and one person telling 6 people what to do, those are going away. The structures are falling away, and the need for co-creation and collaboration and those skills are becoming more and more valuable and more necessary. So that's why we're having this conversation, because you can be and choose to be a powerful collaborator. And, of course, one of the powerful things, and this is the next principle I wanted to talk about, is having the conversation with the people that you're collaborating with about how you're going to interact, how you're going to honor each other. Because we all come into a team with unquestioned assumptions. We all come in with, some people assume truth and honesty. Some people assume complete openness and transparency and sharing. And other people assume, I don't have to be fully honest. I don't have to show all my cards. I don't have to necessarily give all my information. So there's different approaches based on history and paradigms and all kinds of stuff that bring people together into a room, but don't necessarily have them all working together. And so having the conversation about how you will honor each other and respect each other is really important. And I'll just give you some ideas so that you can think about, well, what can we start implementing, or what can I start implementing for me as I interact with other people? And it could be something as simple as agree that what's said in the room stays in the room. You know, when you have a meeting, especially a brainstorming meeting where people are coming together and they're saying kind of crazy things, because that's in the spirit of brainstorming, to talk about that outside of the room and outside of context might actually, especially when you associate an idea or a thought with a person, it actually could discredit them. So you need to be really conscious that what is shared in the confines of a space with other people needs to stay there unless an agreement is made that, yes, we can talk about these outside of the room. This keeps the trust bond full and intact, and helps facilitate that team bonding and cohesion, which is ultimately what you're after. You want 4 or 5 people, individuals, actually bonding into one unit that becomes what we were calling a dream team. You also might want to consider being a responsible participant, which means you are honest and forthcoming as best as you can be. And you're speaking your truth from my perspective. This is what I see. This is, not finger pointing and being accusatory, but, I notice that our team isn't always, it's my feeling that our team isn't always as effective as it could be in meeting our deadlines. That's my truth. I don't know how you all feel, but that's what I see. So you're owning how you feel, and you're being a responsible participant. Another way you can talk about setting up how we're going to interact is deciding to detach from the outcome, because no one can predict the future of what's going to happen in the team. But when you are trying to come together and collaborate, there's an opportunity to create new possibilities. So we need to detach from my way or the highway thinking and be open to different possibilities happening. And the other thing, I'm just, again, throwing out some ideas, is listening with an ear of curiosity versus animosity. Sometimes we just assume people are going to say the same stuff, or we start getting angry because we hear things come out of people's mouths that we don't like or we're tired of hearing or whatever. And this is an opportunity to listen fresh and new with, wow, I wonder why they're saying that now. I wonder what is driving that for them to say that. Do I really understand where they're coming from? When you start to get curious about what somebody is saying, it really helps you not be furious. And we used to have a button that says, be curious, not furious. It takes a little bit of time, but in the long run, it facilitates this cohesion that makes your team effective. So there's a whole bunch of things you can do together to decide how you're going to interact. And I would definitely, in the book we have about 15 of different things, from listening generously to eliminating killer phrases, which are whenever you feel the need to say, that'll never work, or yeah, right, or yes, but, or that's stupid, or we can't do that, upper management. You can hear the killer phrases, and you can feel the energy in the room go from high to That's when you have an opportunity to say, oh, you know what, I take that back. Let's be open. Let's try something different, and spiral the energy back up. Start to become very attuned, and when you lay these ground rules and these ideas about how you're going to interact, you will be creating that again, I said the space for an opportunity for the team to move into very high functioning, high possibility creating mode. The next principle that I'd like to share with you is that you have an opportunity to be courageous with your actions, to be courageous with your words, to stand in integrity. And Stephen Covey talks about an emotional bank account, and it's where it's a concept where you're making deposits into the emotional bank account of the team and of your credibility. So starting to look at your actions as making deposits or withdrawals. So in a team environment, when we keep our promises, when we respect other people, when we're listening generously, when we're facilitating play and joking and lightheartedness, when we're open to other ideas, we're making deposits into the team bank account, into our personal bank account. When we have a we mentality, an all for one and one for all mentality, that's, again, making a deposit into the emotional bank account. And we all know when people start to take out and make withdrawals, you are lying, or you're self-serving, or you're double-dealing, or you're backstabbing or talking trash, cheating or stealing ideas, or down-talking some of your coworkers. These are all things, and you can take withdrawals and make nasty withdrawals and pretty much wipe your bank account. You could have spent 3 years building your bank account and do a few lying, backstabbing, double-dealing, and wipe your bank account and go to a negative balance. So start to look at how you interact in ways where you're making deposits, co-creative, collaborative, smart choices, and it's going to be courageous, and it's going to take some discipline. So the principle here is realize that you can be courageous with your actions and with your words and make smart deposits into the emotional bank account and not make dumb withdrawals. And the other principle that we talked about is deciding how, in talking and communicating with your team members, how you will interact and how you will honor each other. So after the break, I have a few more fundamental principles that you can use to lay the groundwork for co-creating and collaborating. Hi, and welcome back. And we're talking about how to become a more effective collaborator and co-creator. And I'm sorry if this is sounding like a laundry list of principles, but this is a lot of material to try and cover in an hour. And I wanted to really give you the foundation of things that you can think about and start implementing in your personal life. So that's why we're kind of going through these principles in a very sequential way, but you don't have to necessarily do them in sequence. I mean, pick one. Pick any one and start having the conversation with the people you're working with to move in the direction and be more effective together. And that's one of the things, that's another principle. In the book we call it Cultivate Shared Responsibility and Shared Ownership, but it's really acting like a cohesive unit and realizing that you have the power together to create whatever it is you're interested in, and you're not going to be, and you need to let go of the assumption that you're at the whim and caprice of outside forces. And that was one of the things I saw in corporate America is people always felt like, I can't do that. You know, my boss won't let me, or corporate won't let me, or our business unit isn't going in that direction. And I think you'd be fascinated and pleasantly surprised when a handful of people get together and they're cohesive and they're tight and they've got a strong vision and they're passionate, they can bulldoze down almost any outside force out there. When I was at Lucent, our team of 4 people pretty much got giant budget, created a business within the business. We were acting like a business within the business unit, and we're able to create customers and market share and revenue all within our little, well, it wasn't little, it was a big business unit. But because we were clear about what we were up to, we were able to garner an incredible amount of support and excitement and interest. And so one of the things I really want you to feel is that when your team gets powerful and tight, those outside forces aren't going to get in your way, but you need to make a choice that you're not going to be a victim or a martyr or give your power away and say, oh, we can't make that happen. Yes, you can, and that's the power of a collective. So be smart about that, and also self-govern. And again, this is the opportunity that you have to ask yourself some questions about, am I taking responsibility for myself? Am I giving my power away and saying, well, my team leader or the people who I work with are big babies? You know, it's funny. I know that sounds a little strong, but I can't tell you how many times in our own minds we let ourselves off the hook and we're not doing our own self-governance. We're not asking ourselves if we're doing our best, or if we're upholding the team values. Are we gossiping? Are we talking trash? Are we really being a full contributor? Are we open to possibilities and curious about what people have to say? Am I being proactive? These are things that we need to talk and look honestly at ourselves about and take internal ownership. And so when you choose to be a co-creator and a collaborator, it is your opportunity to be an owner of yourself. And again, I've been talking since we started this radio show, Making Peace with Money, that you are the creative powerhouse. And when you give your power away, whether it's to outside circumstances or outside people, you're really cheating yourself and now your team of what's possible. So be self-governing and realize the power that you have. The next principle is being willing to take some risks, to explore risk-taking. And that might sound obvious, but some of the things that happen when we interact with other people is we are exposing ourselves. We are sharing things. We are telling our truth in a way that we might have not before. So when you start to become cohesive, you also are taking a lot of risks, facing the worst-case scenario. Realize that working with other people does feel risky because you're exposing yourself emotionally, not just physically and mentally, but emotionally. And you're exposing yourself who you are. And this is why it's so important when we set the stage for collaboration that we're respectful of each other. And we respect and allow other people to have their passions, to have their meaning, to have who they are. Because when we're welcoming of that, we create a more welcoming environment where people are willing to take risks. And you want to know where corporate America is trying to force us to go all the time, and our collaborations take more risks. Well, in order to take more risks, we need to set the environment, and that's what these principles are helping you do. So, but again, this is your opportunity to risk taking a chance, being honest, making a change, sharing. When you do that, it shows to other people that it's okay and it's possible. So that's the seventh principle. And the eighth principle I wanted to talk to you about is along those lines of change and making a choice. And you can actually build what I call your co-creation muscles, your collaboration muscles. Because when you decide, and again, this is you being the most effective collaborator you can, when you decide to build your personal muscles, and the reason why I use muscle is it's an opportunity to develop, to make a choice, to use to discipline yourself, and to show up and be proactive, to be open to possibility, to tell the truth, to be respectful. When you do that over and over and over, you're building your collaboration muscles. You're building your respect muscle. You're building your I do what I say I'm going to do muscle. So I have a whole list of muscles, and I actually have a set of cards that I'll put it up on the internet if you want. You can go and purchase the set of cards. And what I do is I have them on my desk, and every day I pull a card, and this is the muscle that I work with that day. Whether it's the reflective muscle, I'm not going to jump in and say I know. I'm going to sit back and question my unquestioned assumptions. Or if it's my we mentality muscle, if I pull that card, I realize that I might be acting too me-ish, me, M-E, versus we-ish, W-E, and thinking about, well, what's in the best for all of us? One for all and all for one, the Three Musketeer model. So there's an opportunity here to build these muscles, which are foundational, again, to being a powerful, effective collaborator. Listening muscle, the willingness to take time out and actually listen. The detachment muscle, the willingness to stop and say, not my way or the highway. The learning muscle, willing to try new things and learn different things that we hadn't learned before. So I think there's like 30 of them that when you decide to start to build those muscles and work them over and over and over so they become strong, you will become clear about the building blocks of effective collaborating and co-creating. The ninth principle that I wanted to mention is changing something. Change is so important. And again, if you're going to be in a co-creation, you got to expect that something's going to change. And I think this is one of the things that people are uncomfortable with. They know that they want something different, but in order for something to be different, something has to change. And we don't like change. It's uncertain, we don't know, it feels risky, it's uncomfortable. And so in a lot of ways, we try and have things be different, but we don't want anything to change. And I know that sounds insane, but I think it's so important to realize that when you're going to get into an interaction with another person, they might change the way you look at things, you might change the way they look at things, you might change the direction of where the team was headed. As a partnership with your spouse, you might change what you're intending together. Something's bound to change when you get in an interaction with somebody, and that is part of the excitement, of course, part of the opportunity. So in this case, there's this old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. On some level, when you're collaborating and when you're co-creating, of course there's going to be change. It's going to happen, and that's what creates growth. So we need to change for growth's sake. So start practicing change right now. Order something different off of the menu. Sit in a different chair. Take a different route to work. Start getting comfortable with things changing. Start changing up yourself so that you're starting to be more comfortable with change on a big scale. When you do change on a small scale, and it could be something as simple as wear a different pair of shoes. I wear the same shoes every day. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but sometimes I just put on different shoes just to know I can. I know. So, but my point is, there's simple little things that you can do that will start to send a signal to yourself that you're willing to be a person who is embracing change and trying change. And that message you're paying attention to and makes a big difference to you. You know, you're telling yourself something new about you, and that's the key when we're growing and developing into a person who is a powerful collaborator. The last thing, and I'll talk about it after the break, is playing. I can't tell you how important it is as a principle, as an intention, as a muscle, call it whatever you will, but coming into any collaboration with a lightheartedness and a willingness to play together, joke together, but be respectful. You don't want jokes at other people's expense, but you do want that lightheartedness of goofing around together. You always know a powerful team is working at work when they're having fun. They're joking, they're comfortable with each other, and they're playing. I don't know if they're goofing around, or it's so many different ways to goof around, from telling jokes to at work every once in a while somebody, we got a guy who's in charge of the fish tank, and we call him the fish tater because he's the only one who can bring in different fish. And so we ask, can we have guppies? And he's like, no. Can we have goldfish? And he's like, no. And after a while, we just start joking with him, and we called him the fish tater because he's the dictator of the kind of fish. So, but we're goofing around, and nobody's taking it all seriously. And that's part of the fun of being in your company and in the company of other people. Is it's the opportunity to enjoy each other. And when you're enjoying each other, it makes collaborating and co-creating such a joy and so much more fun. So when we get back from the break, I'll go over these principles, and I'll talk about some things that you can do right now to start to implement these principles. So stay tuned. Hi, and welcome back. And we're talking about being an effective co-creator. And I've laid out 10 principles for you to consider and also to start to implement in your personal life. And then, of course, take that as you get more comfortable into your work life and into your family life. The last thing I talked about was the power of play. And I want to just say a couple more things about playing and interacting with other people, because I think we put off play, especially at work. We got to get down to business and take care of things, and then we'll play. And that's a really big mistake. The mistake of putting play at bay until everything is done is completely opposite. On some level, play should be the way of every day. Sorry about that. Play should be the way of every day, meaning don't put off the joy and the interaction of enjoying each other because you're trying to get real work done. That's what takes all the juice and fun out of interacting and co-creating. And also understanding that sometimes you just need to take a break and do nothing. And this is what we've been talking about before when we're interacting, when we start to feel energy fall. Really, when you're in a group, and when you're in your own life, you can feel when the energy is high and exciting and feeling good, and you can also feel when you're exhausted and tired. And one of the things that took me a long time to realize and understand is when you overthink something, when you're in a thinking mode, it can drain you. When you're analyzing and trying to find the right answer, it can really drain you. So on some level, realizing when it's time to stop and take a break when you're interacting is really powerful. And say, you know what, let's go get a bite to eat, or let's get a drink, or let's take a moment and when I mean drink, I don't mean alcohol, I mean water or something healthy, and really shift and allow yourself the break of doing nothing, or maybe doing something that's different so that you can rejuvenate yourself, because playing is rejuvenating. And choosing to rejuvenate individually and collectively is a really important muscle and discipline that helps keep your team healthy and strong. So as you think about what can I do right now, one of the most important, powerful things that you can do right now to put these principles in actions is to begin the journey with this internal exploration, understanding what is important and meaningful to you, and actually making the choice, hey, this is a group of people I am going to collaborate and co-create with. This is a person I do want to be in partnership with. And when you're clear about that, when you're clear about that you're choosing to interact, you're clear about what's meaningful and passionate to you, then you can communicate it to the other people on your team. So this is an important first step. Once you understand what you're really about and what you're really wishing for the team and what is meaningful, you can share it, and that's great information for them because it's information that that will be included and created into the mix. So that's an important first step for anyone is, well, what is it that I really care about here, and am I choosing to participate fully? And then we can also practice when we're starting to share with other people, creating our shared vision. Practice the muscle of detachment where now you're clear about what you'd like to create, but now you need to put your expectation and viewpoint on hold to listen to other people's viewpoints. Even if you never formally sit down, practicing detachment and listening to the other person without trying to figure out how to manipulate them into agreeing with your vision, just hearing them freely and fully is so important to that intermingling of energies that creates unexpected possibilities and also really effective, smart next steps. And of course, you need to own your power of choice. Right now, you need to see yourself as having choice in the collaboration, choice in not letting the outside world dictate how you're going to feel, how you're going to think. Really choose to operate effectively together. And choose to implement the muscles that we talked about. Because the more you decide to discipline yourself and build the muscles of collaboration, the more effective you're going to be in the interaction. And really, the next thing is having that open-heartedness. So spending time being open-hearted and being welcoming of each other's ideas, of listening, of supporting. There's so many things that go into a great team and a great interaction or a great partnership, but always the fundamental is respect. I acknowledge you, I respect you, and I appreciate you as an individual, and therefore I'm choosing to co-create with you. And if you don't respect somebody and you don't want to co-create with them, then that's important information for you. That's really important for you to know and feel and understand about yourself and honor that. Because, like I said, when we can bring people together in a way, you're magnifying the energies. But if you don't want to be there together, you're dissipating the energies, and that's where a lot of people feel like they're wasting their time. So have the conversations. Choose to put some of these principles into play. Have the conversation about how do we want to work together. Have the conversation of choosing to take risks and to build the muscles and change. And, of course, play together. Make sure you're having the conversation about how you're going to interact. And, of course, be courageous to build your emotional bank account with deposits and actions of words of truth and keeping your promises and respect. And when you become this powerful co-creator, you will impact the other people you're interacting with. You have to. And when you are conscious about the process and bringing it to the front and speaking about it in a way, in an integrative, conscious way, you are going to lay the groundwork for really cool, unexpected things to happen. And you will be creating what people are always trying to create, which is a dream team, an experience of two people working as one and doing unexpected really cool things together and having a great time doing it. My experience is I enjoy working by myself, but when I'm a part of a group that is really having fun and doing things together in an empowered, co-creative way, I love that. I have so much fun at it, and I see what's possible. Me working in my business by myself isn't nearly as powerful as me working with a team of people. We are so much more prosperous. We're so much more connected, and I really feel like we are so much more powerful together. And that's the opportunity when you choose to be a co-creator and a collaborator. So, again, if you want, I have a deck of cards. Send me an email at theabundancecenter.com, and I will put you to PayPal, and they're $10 for the deck of cards, or you can actually buy our book, Breakthrough Teams for Breakneck Times. But whatever you do, give yourself the permission to be a productive, effective collaborator. And I know you will have a ton of fun. So have a great week, and I will see you next week.